On her daughter's 27th birthday, vet Susan Lloyd arrived at her clinic before dawn and found the impossible sitting on the front desk. Two bobcats sat motionless. The older one, gaunt and gray, dropped a frayed stuffed rabbit from her jaws. It landed heavily, a child's toy, button eye missing, pink fabric bleached pale by years.
That's Amelia's rabbit, the one she carried everywhere the week she died, 19 years ago.
A memory. 8-year-old Amelia, hugging the same rabbit in a field of wildflowers. And another, Amelia here, holding a bobcat kitten, her voice gentle as she promised it would be safe.
No, it can't be.
Susan's knees buckled. She grabbed the doorframe. The rabbit crushed against her chest. The name tag was still there. Amelia, stitched in pale blue, now barely visible.
Why now? How could a wild bobcat carry this for nearly 20 years? And why would she bring it to me?
Susan forced her feet to move. Step by step, she approached the desk, the younger bobcat's eyes tracking her every breath. The old cat's notched ear, a jagged V, flashed a buried memory. Amelia had laughed, calling it a battle scar when she named the kitten Ella.
Ella? Is it really you? After 19 years, you came back on her birthday.
The younger cat hissed, a sharp warning. Susan flinched, her outstretched hand retreating, a clear boundary.
I have to know. Amelia insisted we microchip her. The old records might be in the back.
She left the rabbit on the desk and backed out of the room. The chip reader was buried in the storage closet, untouched for years. She rummaged through dust and cobwebs until her fingers closed around the cracked plastic device. The power button resisted, then flashed a flickering screen. Battery low, maybe just enough for one scan.
Don't die on me now. Not until I know if she's really Ella.
She hurried back to the exam room. The two bobcats still sat on the desk, as if waiting for her to understand. Susan approached the old bobcat slowly, scanner raised, her voice a trembling whisper. Easy, girl. Just need a quick read. The younger cat shifted, a low growl rumbling in her throat. The older one didn't flinch. The scanner's screen flickered, showing only a blinking battery icon, the charge about to collapse.
Please, just one more second. Give me the number before you die.
She pressed the scanner against Ella's shoulder, right over where the microchip would be. A single beep, then silence. The screen glitched, numbers scrambled for an instant. Then the display went black.
No, I saw it. There was a string starting with 985, but I couldn't catch the rest. Amelia's handwriting is in an old folder somewhere. I'll match it manually. I don't need this machine.
She dropped the useless scanner onto a nearby cart, her eyes already fixed on the back office, where the paper records were stored. The bobcats watched her go, the rabbit still on the desk, a silent witness to a race that now had only one option left. Susan pushed through the staff-only door into the back office, air thick with dust and old paper. There, in the corner, sat the steel filing cabinet that hadn't budged in 19 years.
Everything from Amelia's rescue is in there. I never threw a single sheet away.
She yanked the top drawer open, the metal screeching. Folders jammed tight, labels fading into illegibility. Her fingers walked through the tabs, for Amelia, heart hammering against her ribs.
The chip certificate was always separate, a blue form with the ID number she circled in red.
But the drawer was chaos. Unpaid bills, old patient records, expired vaccine charts, no blue form. She pulled out a stack, dropping them on the floor, crouching to dig deeper into the metallic void.
Where is it? She wouldn't have thrown it away. I wouldn't let her.
In the exam room, the rabbit waited, and the old bobcat's amber eyes never left the door. Her hand closed on a manila folder at the back of the drawer, the tab reading Amelia's bobcat kitten, Ella, in a child's handwriting. She opened it right there on the dusty floor. A crayon drawing of a spotted kitten slid out first. Amelia had scribbled Ella in pink at the bottom. Beneath it, the blue microchip certificate. Chip ID 985,121,015,674,892. The same 985 prefix she had glimpsed before the scanner died.
It's her. Ella. She survived 19 winters. She came home.
She pressed the drawing to her chest. Then a photograph fell out. Amelia in pink overalls, holding the Bobcat kitten, the same rabbit toy tucked under her arm. Susan's hand trembled as she traced the chip number with her finger, whispering it aloud like a prayer.
But why bring the rabbit? She could have just come alone. This toy, it's been carried for years. Why?
Doubt crept in. Was this just a coincidence? A toy found in the woods, dragged here by a sick animal looking for shelter? But the name tag, the notched ear, the chip. Facts didn't lie. Something deeper pulled this Bobcat back, and Susan needed to know what. She gathered the folder and walked back to the exam room. The old Bobcat had not moved, the rabbit still beside her, the younger one watchful as ever. Susan lifted the rabbit. The fabric was thin, nearly disintegrating, but the stitched name tag was unmistakable. Amelia. The thread was pale blue, barely there now, but still proof this toy had belonged to her daughter. She remembered. Amelia ran through the woods that week, the rabbit always with her, until the day it simply disappeared.
It was lost days before the accident. How could a wild animal keep it safe for 19 years? I can't make sense of this alone. David Morrow, the county ranger, he'll come if I call.
She dialed the station, her voice uneven as she asked him to come to the clinic right away.
David, it's Susan. You need to come to the clinic. Something happened that I can't explain over the phone.
He heard the tremor in her voice and didn't argue. He said he'd be there within the hour.
He'll demand proof. Good thing I have it, but what will he say about the rabbit?
She hung up and waited, the rabbit now a talisman in her hands, its mystery heavier than ever. David's truck rumbled into the gravel lot. He stepped out, a serious expression settling as he saw Susan waiting at the door.
2 Bobcats on your front desk. Sue, you know how that sounds. Are you sure one of them isn't just a farm cat?
Look at the microchip certificate, David. This Bobcat is Ella, the kitten my daughter rescued 19 years ago. The number matches.
David took his own scanner and approached the younger cat, who growled but stayed still. A clean beep, then a name on his screen. Cedar.
This one's got a modern chip, tagged 2 years ago in a wildlife study. She's not related to your daughter's cat. The rabbit is probably just a random lost toy.
Random? It has my daughter's name sewn into it. Ella came here on Amelia's birthday. That's not chance. That's intention.
Intention. They're wild animals. They don't keep emotional souvenirs. The notched ear and old chip are interesting, but the toy, I can't buy it.
He placed his scanner back in his bag, his face softening just a little.
Look, I know this hits deep, but don't let grief fill in the gaps with wishes. If there's more to it, prove it.
The door clicked shut behind him. Susan turned back to the Bobcats, her jaw tight. If proof was what it took, she'd find it. For the next hour, Susan barely moved. She watched Ella groom the younger cat, the rabbit always within reach. When the younger one let out a soft whimper, Ella nudged the toy toward her. The cat curled around it and instantly quieted.
That's not random. She's using it like a security blanket. But how long has she done this?
She took the rabbit and placed it under her brightest magnifying lens. The fabric was saturated with evidence. Embedded deep were dozens of tiny bobcat hairs, some gray and brittle, others still soft. Hairs from different seasons, different years.
This toy didn't just survive 19 years in the woods. It was used. By her. By her kittens. Over and over.
The truth struck her like a physical blow. While she mourned a daughter she couldn't protect, this wild creature had kept Amelia's rabbit as a mothering tool.
Your kits had something of mine to hold on to. My daughter only had this toy, and I wasn't there for her.
She looked at Ella, who met her eyes with that same ancient patience. The bobcat had never forgotten. She had carried on. Susan pressed the rabbit to her chest, tears slipping. The proof was undeniable now, but it didn't feel like victory. It felt like a reopened wound. She set up a quiet corner with blankets and a heating pad, setting out water and a dish of soft food. The bobcat settled without resistance. That night, Susan slept in the office chair. In her dream, Amelia was 8 again, laughing as she chased the rabbit toy through the clinic. She woke to a rasping sound. Ella was coughing, a deep, wet rattle that pulled Susan upright, heart already sinking. A vet's instinct overrode emotion. She lifted the old cat onto the exam table, the portable ultrasound already in her hand. The screen showed a dark mass pressing against Ella's left lung. Advanced, inoperable. She hadn't come back for shelter. She'd come back to die.
That's why you came, isn't it? You knew you were running out of time, so you brought the rabbit home.
Ayla blinked slowly, amber eyes holding Susan's. There was no fear, just a quiet acceptance.
You gave your kittens comfort with my daughter's toy. Now you need comfort of your own.
She pulled the rabbit close to Ella's face. The old bobcat's breathing steadied, her chin resting on the worn fabric. For the first time, Susan understood. This wasn't a mystery to solve. It was a goodbye. On the 4th morning, Hope approached Ella with the rabbit in her mouth, placing it tenderly beside the old cat's head. Then she turned and stared at Susan, a deliberate, knowing look. Susan knelt beside them, her hand moving to Ella's side, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Later, at her desk, Susan placed the rabbit next to Amelia's photo and recorded a shaky video, her voice breaking as she recounted the chip, the hairs, the 19 years. She sent it to David with a single line, "Proof. Come see." He arrived within the hour, and she played the video for him in silence.
I was wrong, Sue. This isn't coincidence. The hairs, the way she uses the toy, it's deliberate. What do you want to do?
She stays here, with us, until the end. She brought Amelia's love back to me. The least I can do is be here for her.
David nodded, his skepticism replaced by quiet awe. They would keep the bobcats together, safe and warm, for as long as Ella had left. Hope nuzzled the toy, then settled next to Ella, a guardian now. The rabbit, once a child's comfort, had become a bridge between species. That night, Susan slept on the floor beside them, the rabbit's faded tag catching the first light of dawn. When Susan woke, she placed the rabbit on her desk next to Amelia's photo, a promise that the story wasn't over yet. At 3 in the morning, Susan felt the rabbit pressed into her hand. Ella had dragged herself close, placing her treasure there. Susan understood. Ella was returning the toy. She gently laid the toy beside the old cat's head and pulled the blanket over them both. An hour later, the breathing stopped.
Thank you, Ella, for bringing her back.
David arrived at dawn and found her on the floor. He said nothing, just helped her carry Ella outside to the old oak tree. While he dug, Susan went inside and placed the rabbit on her desk, next to Amelia's photo. It belonged there now. She picked up the framed photograph of Amelia, the one with the same rabbit, and held it to her chest. She returned to the grave, the photo still clutched in her hand. David had finished. Together, they lowered Ella's body into the earth. Susan placed a simple flat stone at the head, carving Ella with a pocket knife, a bobcat paw print pressed into the wood beside it.
This rabbit stays right here, on my desk, forever. It's proof that love doesn't end.
And the rabbit waited on the desk, its faded tag catching the morning light, a silent witness to two lives now intertwined forever. For 3 weeks, Hope lingered near the clinic, returning each dawn. Susan left food, but the Bobcat never entered. On the 22nd morning, the porch was empty. Only paw prints in the dew led back into the forest. Susan gently cleaned the rabbit's frayed fabric, then placed it beside Amelia's photo on her desk. She opened a leather journal. The first sentence came hard, but then it poured out. By lamplight, she wrote of the notched ear, the chip number, the hairs. 19 years of loyalty. David stopped by, saw the half-filled journal, and read a few lines in silence.
You should share this, Sue. People need to know.
Not yet. It's still too raw. Someday, maybe. Right now, I just need to write.
She wrote until her hand cramped, determined to finish the story even if it remained a secret. In the quiet clinic under a starry sky, the rabbit waited on the desk, and the pages filled. Months passed. The journal swelled with memories, Amelia's laugh, the rescue, Ella's final gift. One dawn, a sharp yowl cut through the silence. Susan froze, heart hammering. At the back door, Hope stood guard over 3 tiny kittens, their eyes barely open. Susan dropped to her knees, hands trembling. The kittens tumbled toward her without fear. Hope walked past her, straight to the desk, and gently lifted the rabbit in her jaws. She carried it back, placing it among the kittens. The tradition had not ended.
This is the sign I needed. I can't keep this miracle to myself. David, it's Susan. They came back. The next generation is here.
That afternoon, over coffee, they sketched a plan for a wildlife program in Amelia's name. The rabbit sat on the desk, its faded tag, a promise of stories yet to be told. David secured the permits within a week. Susan designed a curriculum around one object, a faded stuffed rabbit and the bobcat who carried it. She printed a simple certificate as the program's centerpiece. Amelia's Bunny Wildlife Education Program, with a paw print stamped beneath the name. Early morning, she hung a carved wooden sign above the clinic door. The program had a home. The first class arrived on a Tuesday. 3rd graders crowded into the clinic, their whispers hushing as Susan lifted the rabbit from its shadow box. She told them about Amelia, the notched ear, the microchip, and how a wild bobcat carried this toy for 19 years. A girl in the front row raised her hand, her voice high and clear. "Could I help animals like Amelia did?" the girl asked. Susan's throat tightened. She saw her daughter in that earnest face.
You just did? By listening, by caring, you are already helping.
After they left, Susan sat at her desk, the rabbit between her hands. For the first time in 19 years, the silence didn't hurt. She looked at Amelia's photo and whispered, "We're doing it, baby. We're helping them." The next spring, Hope returned with 3 kittens. So did one of her daughters, then another, until the clinic porch held a small bobcat reunion each year. Susan documented every litter, filling a hallway wall with photographs. 3 generations of bobcats who all knew the way to the clinic. A local reporter arrived with a camera crew. Susan held the rabbit and told the whole story. The chip, the notched ear, the 19 years.
This rabbit was my daughter's. A bobcat carried it for 19 years. It's the reason our program exists.
The story aired nationally. A framed article, "A Mother's Love," went up on the clinic wall, and donations flooded in. The Amelia's Bunny program was officially funded for a decade. Its certificate printed with a fresh paw print of each new litter. A young girl handed Susan a bunch of wildflowers. "These are for Amelia's Bunny," she said. "It taught me to be kind."
Amelia, your bunny changed everything. It's not just a toy anymore.
The rabbit sat in a small shadow box on the desk, its frayed tag still legible. Amelia. Every child who saw it heard the story, and each year, as if by ritual, Hope or one of her grown daughters appeared at the clinic door, a new kitten trailing behind. 5 years later, the blueprints on Susan's desk had become walls. The Amelia Lloyd Wildlife Education Center rose beside the clinic, funded by donations and love. A framed article on the clinic wall showed the groundbreaking, "A Mother's Love Builds a Legacy." David had secured the final permits. On opening day, a bronze statue was unveiled in the courtyard, a girl holding a rabbit, a bobcat at her side. Children from across the county cheered. Inside the center, the original certificate hung in a glass case, a fresh paw print stamped beneath the first one. The rabbit still sat on Susan's clinic desk, now in a small exhibit of its own, its frayed tag barely readable.
This center is Susan's doing. She took a grief that could have swallowed her and turned it into the largest wildlife education program in the state.
He's wrong. This isn't my doing. It's Amelia's and Ella's. I just carried it.
She looked at the bronze statue, the girl's face forever ate. The bobcat's ear notched just like Ella's.
We did it, baby. 1,000 children will learn to love the wild because you loved a bobcat kitten.
As the ribbon was cut, the center opened, and the rabbit remained on the old clinic desk, a silent witness to a promise kept. Another decade passed. Susan, now 73, worked a few mornings a week, her white coat softened by age. One morning, she found a tiny bobcat kitten on her doorstep, shivering and alone, its eyes barely open, no mother in sight, just the faint cry of an orphan. Susan wrapped it in a towel, her hands as steady as they'd ever been. A memory surfaced. 8-year-old Amelia cradling a bobcat kitten, her voice promising, "I'll keep you safe." Susan looked at the old Polaroid on her desk, the photo of Amelia with the kitten, and then at the tiny creature in her arms.
I'll name you Amelia. A second chance for the name, if not the girl.
She fed the kitten with a dropper, the way she'd learned from her daughter 30 years before. The stuffed rabbit watched from its shadow box. For a moment, it seemed less frayed, as if holding a trace of every generation. That afternoon, Susan carried the kitten to the forest's edge and sat beneath the old oak tree.
The cycle never ends, does it, Ella? One rescued kitten becomes a mother, then another and another, but the rabbit stays.
Now 78, Susan sat on the clinic porch, the rabbit in its shadow box beside her. A young vet, her successor, pointed toward the distant field where a mother bobcat led 3 kittens. "What's the story with the rabbit?" the young vet asked. Susan smiled, her eyes still on the field.
A very old friend brought it back on my daughter's birthday, 19 years after she died.
She pointed to the bobcat family in the field. That line carries a tradition of comfort, passing this toy from mother to kitten for 2 decades.
I checked the microchip. It was the same kitten my little girl rescued before we lost her.
The young vet's eyes glistened. That's why you started the program. The bunny is the heart of it all.
It's proof that love doesn't end. A wild animal remembered a child's kindness and carried it across generations.
She looked at the field one last time. The girl who just asked you about it. She'll be telling this story when she's my age. The rabbit remained in its shadow box on the old clinic desk, a frayed tag still bearing a single name, Amelia. And in the years that followed, whenever a new vet asked, the story was told again, of a bobcat named Ella and a toy that held a mother's love. That evening, Susan walked alone to the old oak tree. The air was still, the sun sinking low behind the clinic. She knelt by Ella's grave, the flat stone cool beneath her fingers. Wildflowers had grown around it.
I never thought I'd say thank you to a bobcat, but you brought her back when I couldn't feel her anymore. That rabbit, it was her favorite. You carried it for 19 years, gave it to your kittens, and then you gave it to me.
A single tear traced her cheek. She placed a freshly picked wildflower on the stone.
Amelia, can you see this? A whole generation of bobcats living free because of one little girl's heart. I miss you every day, sweetheart. But tonight I feel you right here, in the breeze, in the stars.
A distant bobcat cry echoed from the forest. It sounded like an answer.
Go on, Ella. Keep watching over your line. I'll keep telling the story.
She sat there until the stars fully emerged, her heart lighter than it had been in 3 decades. The rabbit, in its shadow box on the desk, seemed to glow in the distant clinic window. Susan didn't wake the next morning. She had passed peacefully, Amelia's photo on her nightstand and the rabbit shadow box on her dresser. The young vet found her, a calm expression on her face. Beside the bed, a handwritten note lay folded on the table. Please let the rabbit stay on the clinic desk forever. It's the heart of everything. Keep the program alive for the children. The rabbit remained in its shadow box on the old clinic desk, just as Susan had asked. The community gathered at the clinic, sharing stories of Susan and the bobcats. The hallway of photographs bore silent witness.
She turned a loss into a legacy. The program will continue, stronger than ever.
A child placed a small stuffed rabbit beside the shadow box, a gesture that needed no words, and the original rabbit, worn and loved, stayed on the desk, its tag still bearing a single name, Amelia. At sunset, a bobcat family crossed the field beyond the oak tree, pausing to look toward the clinic. A single image remained, a lone, worn stuffed rabbit, gently lit, its sewn-on Amelia tag a testament to love across species and time. Seasons turned. The clinic still stood. The rabbit still sat in its shadow box on the old desk. Beside Ella's grave, a new stone read, Susan Lloyd, 1952-2030. She gave them a home. A young vet lifted the shadow box for a new class of children, telling the story of Amelia and Ella. The hallway wall filled with more photographs, 4 generations of bobcats, each linked to the rabbit. One spring, a child released a robin she had helped nurse, just as Susan had once taught. In the forest, a tiny bobcat kitten peeked from behind a log, safe because a mother trusted the clinic. Looking out the clinic window, you could sometimes see a bobcat family in the field, pausing as if to remember. The rabbit's tag still held a single name, Amelia. At sunset, the clinic windows caught the last light, and the rabbit's shadow box seemed to hold it. A lone, worn, stuffed rabbit, its Amelia tag still visible. Forever a promise. The sun set behind the old clinic for the 1000th time, silhouetting the oak tree and the memorial stone beside it. Through the clinic window, a mother bobcat led her 3 kittens across the field, pausing to look back. At the forest's edge, a young bobcat kitten paused beneath the trees and turned its gaze toward the clinic. Inside, the rabbit still sat in its shadow box, its faded tag still legible. After all these years, the camera moves closer, filling the frame with the worn pink fabric and the pale blue stitching of a single name, Amelia. Outside, a bobcat's silhouette appeared on the ridge, howling once before disappearing into the moonlight. The clinic held its vigil under a sky of stars, a single lit window glowing like a heartbeat. The shadow box remained on the old desk, the rabbit's ear missing, its fabric threadbare, but its name still a promise. A story that began with a child's kindness and a bobcat's loyalty had become a legend passed from vet to vet, from generation to generation. The screen fades to black, leaving only the image of a worn stuffed rabbit, its faded tag bearing a single name, Amelia.